حاجی‌زاده رونمایی کرد. سردار حاجی‌زاده رونمایی کرد.
شرافتمندانه و پیروزمندانه
آزاد
داری سمت راست رو این الان در واقع پرواز جمعه
وردی شرافتمندانه و پیروزمندانه
به سردار سلامی گفته شد این پهپاد میتواند تا 35 ساعت روی آسمان بماند و
A passenger plane operated by South Korean carrier Air Busan caught fire on Tuesday as it prepared to take off from Gimhae International Airport. Authorities say all passengers and crew were evacuated, with 3 suffering minor injuries. Local media say the blaze started in an overhead compartment.
Fire crews extinguish a blaze on a runway in the South Korean city of Busan. The Airbus jet was about to take off late Tuesday when a fire broke out in the rear of the plane, according to the Transport Ministry. All 176 people on board were evacuated. Several were injured as they escaped on the aircraft's inflatable slides. The fire comes just weeks after the deadliest air crash in South Korea's history. The mayor of Busan is calling for a reassessment of the aviation sector.
We can't confirm the exact cause of the fire yet, but this big accident that burned the plane should be used as an opportunity to check the entire aviation system we have.
A call echoed by travelers at this train station in the capital, Seoul.
It's time for the relevant authorities to closely examine if there are any problems with safety mechanisms or the infrastructure of airports and transportation.
I'm a little nervous and worried about so many accidents happening.
And I'm a little reluctant to fly on a plane.
In December, 179 people were killed when a plane crash-landed into a wall at an airport in the southwest. 2 people survived. Authorities say they found evidence of a bird strike in the jet's engines. The official cause is still under investigation.
Emergency workers in Japan are searching for a missing driver after a large sinkhole swallowed his truck near Tokyo. The local fire department says a 10-metre wide cavity opened up in the middle of a street in Yashio City and that the surrounding area is still highly unstable.
Rescuers lift a semi-truck from a sinkhole near the capital, Tokyo. The road caved in at an intersection early Tuesday, swallowing the vehicle and its driver. Crews were able to retrieve the main body of the truck, but not the driver or the cab he was sitting in. Rescuers had contact with him until Tuesday afternoon, but teams were forced to retreat when the area became unstable. A second hole has opened up next to the first. Residents nearby were evacuated, with authorities warning of potential gas leaks and more sinkholes. Local media report that the driver is in his 70s. Rescuers are working around the clock to free him.
What are some other stories now? Responding to Moscow's drone barrage, Ukraine unleashed all-night strikes on western Russia. Local officials said that the strike that targeted an oil refinery killed a mother and her child. The Ukrainian attack over swathes of Russia is the latest in a series of escalating Russian and Ukrainian aerial strikes targeting energy and military facilities in the nearly 3-year-long war. The Ukraine said that one strike had hit an oil refinery in the town of Kosotovo in Russia's Nizhny Novgorod region, around 800 kilometers from the front lines in eastern Ukraine. Now, Russia says that the falling debris from a drone triggered a fire at the site. Now, Russia's defense ministry said earlier that it had downed at least about 104 Ukrainian drones over western regions, including Kursk and Bryansk. The rescuers in Ukraine's Mykolaiv recovered the bodies of 2 women, aged 54 and 56, from the rubble of a food industry facility hit by a Russian missile strike on Tuesday. The attack partially destroyed a production building and damaged the plant's administrative office. Now, earlier, Moscow had said that it captured another Ukrainian settlement in the Kharkiv region. The Russian President Vladimir Putin claims that there is a legal way to end the war, but the Ukrainian President Zelensky has complicated the settlement process.
But if there is a desire to hold talks and to find a compromise solution, let these talks be held by whoever. Of course, we will be striving to get what we need and meets our interests. But as far as the signing of the documents is concerned, we need the legal experts' confirmation, the legitimacy of those people who will be commissioned by the Ukrainian state to sing these accords.
Now, the bombardment has come at a critical juncture for Ukraine in the invasion, characterized by costly battles that have seen Russia make some painstaking but steady gains in the eastern part of the battlefront. Now, the assaults have only escalated since Donald Trump won last year's U.S. presidential election, with the Republicans seeking a pretty swift end to the fighting.
Looking like a rate cut is very much on the cards. It might come in February, it might come in April, but it is coming for mortgage holders. And this might tell us a little bit about the election timing as well, but it still will all be about the cost of living. Joining me now is Independent MP Dai Lee. Dai, great to see you. This is good news for mortgage holders, of course, and this is the one thing that just might help Labor at this election.
Good morning, Laura. Lovely to be in your program again. Can I remind people that it's wonderful. I welcome the news of a drop in inflation, but people have been bleeding for the last nearly, 2.5, nearly 3 years. they are still feeling the pains of the rise, the costs that have risen. So what we are talking about is that future prices will not rise as high. It's probably kind of seeing a plateau. I was at an event this week, and this elderly woman came to talk to me and saying to me, in broken English, by the way, saying how much her energy bills have gone up, her grocery bills have gone up. She says that the government has forgotten the West. So that this was just this week. So I think that while we welcome the news, and as you mentioned, especially for mortgage holders, we have to remember that there has been 13 interest rate rises. So 13. Now, if there was a drop in interest rates, which people seem to be predicting, which will be great, but there has been 13. So I don't know how this one drop will really ease that pain that people have had to feel, have felt for the last 3 years.
It's not deflation, as you say, so prices aren't going down. And as you say, 13 interest rate rises under Labor. So that said, if we are headed towards minority government, would you give a Dutton coalition government a chance if you were to be Queenmaker or Kingmaker?
Laura, I think from my perspective, my community will be my priority. For me, of course, I want stability. I want a government that works for the people, especially the people of Fowler and Western Sydney.
Can you have stability, Di, with the Greens in power or in a position of power?
Oh, look, I don't think the Greens will give us stability. Absolutely not. I think that, we need to prioritise issues such as the cost of living and not extreme views. We need somebody who's sensible, who really understands the pains that ordinary families, working Australians are feeling at the moment when it comes to energy costs. This week, a friend of mine said that her insurance has gone up from about $1,500 to $3,000, and so that the danger of people will not be taking out insurance for housing or even for their cars as we move into the future. So what will our government of the day will be doing to ensure that people's lives will be protected? So for me, my priority will be ensuring that we are addressing the cost of living, especially for families and working families here in Western Sydney.
And Di, great to check in. You look well. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you.
Canada is staring down a February 1st tariff deadline from Donald Trump. And with 4 days to go, Caroline Leavitt, the U.S. president's new press secretary, in her first public briefing, was asked about that.
Again, he was asked and answered this question this past weekend when he took a lot of questions from the press, and he said that the February 1st date for Canada and Mexico still holds.
So a clear indication that Trump is standing firm. And today, CTV News confirmed help is on the way to deal with potential tariffs. Let's bring in CTV senior political correspondent Mike Lecouture. And Mike, what can you tell us about Ottawa's plan?
The amount of relief will depend on how big those tariffs are. Sources tell us no specific programs have been designed, but they could reach pandemic levels if President Trump follows through on his threat to impose 25% tariffs on all Canadian imports into the U.S.
It'll bring the industry to its knees.
A blunt assessment of the impact of U.S. tariffs from the head of a manufacturing company connected to the automotive sector. With deeply integrated supply chains, federal ministers continue to warn Americans will bear the brunt of the pain.
There cannot be tariffs without consequences. There cannot be tariffs without impact. And there cannot be tariffs with a higher cost for U.S. consumers.
If those warnings don't work, the federal government is preparing counter tariffs plus a stimulus package to help businesses and Canadians. Sources tell CTV News that plan does not need to launch as soon as tariffs are levied on Canadian products. Instead, it will address the economic impacts as they become apparent.
It's no different than the pandemic. It's not about one level of government. It's about all three levels of government working collaboratively.
Ford says the public and private sectors must work together to invest in infrastructure in the face of this threat.
We're going to see an unprecedented attack to our families, to our businesses, to our communities.
In an interview on Bloomberg's Big Take podcast, former Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister and current Liberal leadership contender Chrystia Freeland said Canada needs to publish a list of American products that we could slap with counter tariffs to get President Trump's attention.
I believe that he doesn't care that much if Canadian politicians are jumping around, banging our fists on the table, etc., but he cares about Americans.
Economists say the key to any type of stimulus package is to make it targeted and time sensitive to prevent it from becoming inflationary spending or to have it contribute to the deficit. Sandy?
Mike, thank you.
In a few moments, the Laken-Riley Act will become the very first bill that I proudly sign into law as the 47th President of the United States. I'm going to sign this in honor of Laken-Riley. To her friends and classmates, she was a light of warmth and kindness in every single room. To her parents and family, she was everything in the world. They've had a miserable period of time. Just after 9 a.m. last February 22nd, Laken went out for a jog on the campus of the University of Georgia, but she was just never returned. She never came back, did she, huh? It's a tremendous tribute to your daughter, what's taking place today. That's all I can say, but it's so sad we have to be doing it at all. To Laken's family, we will keep Laken's memory alive in our hearts forever, everyone's hearts. With today's action, her name will also live forever in the laws of our country, and this is a very important law. This is something that has brought Democrats and Republicans together. That's not easy to do. Laken did it. Laken did it. America will never, ever forget Laken Hope Riley. It's a landmark law that we're doing today. It's going to save countless innocent American lives.
Our other top story this evening, Governor Ron DeSantis is pledging to veto a sweeping immigration bill passed by state lawmakers amid a brewing battle that's pitted him against GOP leaders.
Yeah, Aaron Parsegian has been following this back and forth, and Aaron, it's still going.
Yeah, after both chambers passed the so-called Trump Act late last night, Governor Ron DeSantis hit the road today, continuing to rally against it.
It would be a total disaster for the state of Florida.
From Titusville to Fort Myers.
Weak, ineffectual, and subversive, quite frankly.
The governor gave a full-throated condemnation of the immigration bill approved just hours before.
It was one of the weakest immigration bills you could do for interior enforcement, and actually kneecap some of the things we're doing right now.
Late Tuesday, lawmakers gave final approval during a special session they called after rejecting the governor's request.
This bill brings together all of our vast resources.
The $500 million Trump Act aims to assist the Trump administration's mass deportation plans and creates a new state office of immigration enforcement, shifting authority from the governor to Agriculture Commissioner Wilton Simpson.
Has Donald Trump ever said, you know, we want the ag commissioner in charge? No, of course not. He would never say that.
The governor says he will veto the, quote, weak and watered-down proposal that fails to meet the moment. Meantime, House Speaker Daniel Perez says the governor isn't being honest.
Threatening others to get your way isn't leadership. It's immaturity.
Lawmakers can override a governor's veto with supermajorities in both chambers, but the votes Tuesday don't show veto-proof support.
We're going to get this done. I'm not just going to sit around.
The governor has hinted at potentially calling another special session, but right now he's urging voters to voice their opinions.
I want the members to go back to their communities, and I want you guys to talk to your representatives and tell them what you think.
And this is really a different dynamic than what we've been seeing over the past few years. What does the governor make of the pushback he's getting from Republican leaders?
Well, he claims he doesn't really care about it. It's more of an inside baseball thing, as he put it. He said he's really concerned with what's in the best interest for people in Florida. But it, as you mentioned, a very interesting dynamic heading into a regular session in March where lawmakers will tackle other pressing issues. And this is the first time in 6 years, really, the Republican-led legislature hasn't gone along with his requests. In studio, Aaron Parsegian,
New at 6, the Trump administration has revoked a decision that would have protected roughly 600,000 Venezuelans from deportation. The move means some Venezuelans with TPS could be facing deportations as early as 2 months from now.
CBS News Miami's Yvonne Taylor is joining us live from Doral, which has a big Venezuelan American community. And Yvonne, I can just imagine this is on the minds of many people there in Doral.
One of the largest Venezuelan communities in the nation, Elliot and Lauren. So I can tell you that there's been shock and uncertainty among these people. Venezuelans were granted TPS in 2021 and then in 2023. That means they would be shielded from deportations until October 2026. But as you can see now, that is no longer the case.
It's very unfortunate, specifically because of the motives that they're alleging. Not all Venezuelans are criminal.
Daniela Basinisi is one of the thousands of Venezuelans with temporary protection status in South Florida, and now affected by the decision of the Trump administration.
I come from a very hardworking family. I've done everything by the law.
This is her reply to what new Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said about rescinding the 18-month extension of TPS for Venezuelans.
Which meant they were going to be able to stay here and violate our laws for another 18 months, and we stopped that.
She labeled the extension of TPS as tying the hands of the new administration.
We are going to follow the process, evaluate all of these individuals that are in our country, including the Venezuelans that are here and members of TDA.
TDA is an abbreviation for Tren de Aragua, a Venezuelan gang. What are you going to do now?
I don't know. I'm hoping for the best, honestly. I do know that I will not break any laws, nor will I have illegal presence in the U.S.
With the Tren de Aragua. The threat of the Venezuelan gang to national security was an issue addressed at this press conference. Who do you think is more at risk out of all those people?
The ones that committed crimes. They're going to be kicked out.
Now, some Venezuelans can hold TPS through April of 2025. Basinisi applied in 2021. She has protection through September of this year.
There is some concern in the Venezuelan community. I would tell them that it's too early to panic.
Immigration attorney Willie Allen says Venezuelans should remember they are still protected, especially those who have not committed any crimes.
The vast majority of Venezuelans with TPS have previously filed for asylum protection.
Venezuelans are known to be supporters of the Trump administration. How do you feel about what happened now?
I do know that the news that we woke up for today must have been as frustrated as they have been for me, even for Trump supporters, because it hits home. It's different. It hits straight home. And considering that going back to Venezuela right now, it's not an option.
It is not an option, is what they're telling me. So far, as of December of 2024, more than 500,000 Venezuelans have applied for TPS. So the new Homeland Security Secretary will have to decide in February and July, respectively, whether the program will be extended to this community. We are live in Doral. Yvonne Taylor, CBS News, Miami.
All right, Yvonne, thank you. We'll continue following this.
According to Reuters, the Trump administration has announced plans to revoke student visas for individuals it deems Hamas sympathizers. In an executive order aimed at combating anti-Semitism, President Donald Trump pledges to deport non-citizen college students and resident aliens who participated in pro-Palestinian protests. According to a White House fact sheet, Trump will direct the Justice Department to take strong action against terroristic threats, arson, vandalism, and violence targeting American Jews. The administration asserts that campuses have become infested with radicalism like never before and vows to take swift action against those involved in such demonstrations. Trump's statement puts foreign students on notice, warning that beginning in 2025, authorities will seek out and deport individuals who join pro-jihadist protests. His administration emphasizes that this policy is part of broader efforts to curb anti-Semitism and ensure national security. The move has sparked debate over free speech and immigration policies, with critics warning of potential overreach and legal challenges.
I am Second Lieutenant Nicholas Talbot. I have been in the United States Army since March of 2024.
And this is something that I have always wanted to do. Being in the Army has been a lifelong dream of mine that I've spent most of my adult life working toward due to various versions of a transgender military ban. When President Trump put out his first executive order this time around, I was really anticipating that something like this would happen again. I'd been working with my legal team for a few months at this point. So when the executive order came out this time, I just kind of said to myself, well, here we are, it's happened, so let's go tackle this thing once again. In my experience with my unit, with my platoons throughout my training, a non-issue. Nobody cares that I'm transgender in the military. We spend more time talking about my mustache than we do me being transgender, because it's something about me that has no impact on my ability to perform and to serve my country. I think the wording this time around is very frustrating because the claims that are being made against transgender service people are not based in any factual anything in any sense of the imagination. It's all fiction. We all come in and serve honorably with integrity, and we, remain loyal to our country and to our fellow soldiers. Our being transgender has nothing to do with the character of our being. We all took the exact same oath, and we all swore to uphold the Constitution and defend and protect the United States of America. And that's what is important to remember about transgender service people is we are just like any other member of the United States military. We want to serve our country, we want to protect this nation, and we deserve to do so with dignity and respect and be able to live our authentic lives in our personal lives.